The Super Mario Bros. Movie made a ton of money, and that was fun for everybody involved, except for Nintendo, perhaps. They are letting time lapse and not developing movies for the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. That's the NCU. So why, when money is flying by every time they make one of these? Well, it turns out that Nintendo may have other plans. Folks, it's time for an exclusive. We'll dive straight in. Hang tight. We'll be right back after this. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the game that we play every single day here on the Pro Channel, which is keeping you ahead of that culture curve by explaining entertainment. We do so with a gusto that the rest can only hope to grab onto one day. And folks, as we get underway, we ask that you click that like button. We're explaining today, according to our source, although rumor and speculation territory, why it is that Nintendo is not pursuing, perhaps, a major rollout of movies on par with the Marvel Cinematic Universe when it comes to their characters and brands, despite what we believe is the major desire of Universal and Illuminations to make that happen. We'll explain it all and tell you who the real winner in all of this is right now. All right, folks, let's get to our next story because it's a big one and we don't want to leave it any longer. We've been holding this for a while. Apologies for those of you who've been tuning in for so long to get to this. We did not intend to have it be this late in the show, and truly we mean that. It is that the Nintendo Cinematic Universe may be falling apart behind the scenes. This out of that bark place, it is by me because it's from my sources who have reached out to me. And the NCU is in big, big trouble. Here's the article. Once viewed as the greatest potential threat to Disney's animation empire, the nascent Nintendo Cinematic Universe is looking to already be off the rails for reasons that are not all too surprising. It's time for an exclusive look at why and how Universal's big plans are falling apart in a big, big way. An insider who has reached out in the past with exclusive and specific information that has proven to be true is back in touch with us this week regarding the NCU. Folks, we have to get that label out there, though. We are in rumor and speculative territory with this story. As the Super Mario Bros. Movie was taking off even pre-release, we're told that Universal was feeling very positive about an ongoing relationship with Nintendo that could create their own Marvel-style animated empire guaranteed to be lucrative for a decade or more. Though Nintendo leadership had been difficult to work with in the past for Hollywood executives, Universal and Illumination discovered that working with the Japanese gaming giant could be a breeze if American megacorps played by the rules Nintendo wanted in place. Basically, character brand integrity came before anything else, and wholesome Universal storytelling was required every step of the way. For Nintendo, we're told that the relationship with Illumination in bringing Mario to life on the silver screen was seen more as a side project, whereas Hollywood might covet the Nintendo characters in a way that almost no other brand can compare to. Nintendo was largely the same with or without a hit movie. It's really worth paying attention to that, folks. For Nintendo, the Mario Brothers success in the movie form was nothing compared to the success in the video games. It was cute. It was fun. It was sort of a side project. Despite the tremendous success of the Super Mario Brothers movie, it now seems that Universal's plans for the NCU have run into an immovable obstacle. Though Illumination could have offered Nintendo an opportunity for a new theatrical release every single year, our source claims that Nintendo leadership have stalled on greenlighting any projects other than a Mario sequel and a Metroid movie that is tenuous and would need script approval. That's script approval from Nintendo, by the way. A live-action Zelda movie has been approved under a separate deal with Sony, which may have further soured efforts by Universal to partner with Nintendo for a long-term movie relationship. And this is one of the key things that our sources told us that I think explains a lot. Execs for Universal were reportedly very displeased that they were negotiating an animated Zelda film to little avail, while Shigeru Miyamoto quietly sought after a script and deal with Japanese company Sony for a live-action competitor. In other words, Universal thought that they were dealing with Nintendo to get a bunch of movies, like year after year after year, and so they're setting up all of these plans to go eventually into a Super Smash Brothers movie. Meanwhile, Nintendo sees this sort of as a side project, and Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda, he's off doing his own thing with Sony, getting a deal made there for Zelda that then Universal says, now, wait a minute, hold on a second. You're pulling the rug out from under us. But take a look at this. Here's the roadmap right now. So from all of those movies that we had planned for the NCU, now We have 2023, the Mario Brothers movie, 2026, the sequel, and now we're hearing that Zelda may not release until the 2030s. One of the fears that existed when Universal and Illuminations wanted to play ball with Nintendo was that Nintendo is historically and notoriously very slow to work with because they want to make sure everything's exactly right and because they have an innate distrust of American entertainment companies to work with them. It looks to me like the NCU is not going to move forward. Now, later in the article, and folks, we want you to go read all of it. Go check out thatparkplace.com. But it's looking like the real winner in all of this is going to be Paramount with the Sega stuff. The Sonic franchise after Sonic 3 likely to continue on with even more Sonic stuff happening. And they're probably going to try to branch out. Even though the Sega brands are not as well known, they're still going to now have this runway because Universal's stuck. They want to use Mario. And they're putting Mario in all of these, in all of the park expansions, right? Epic Universe is going to be using Mario. We think Zelda is coming, but even that's running slowly. But the real winner is going to be Sega and Sonic because whereas Nintendo looks at Hollywood and says, we really don't need this. It's fine, but we don't need it because we're that big and you're that little. Remember that gaming is 13 times the size of the film industry. That's the case for Nintendo. For Sega, that's not true.
This is so fascinating. This is so fascinating. There are reasons for Universal to think that they've really got a foot in the door over there at Nintendo. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but from the corporate perspective, if you look at the list of officers of the company over there at Nintendo, I'm just going to read a couple of them here, see if any names stand out. Shuntaro Furukawa, Shigeru Miyamoto, Shinya Takahashi, Satoru Shibata, Kiyo Shioda, Chris Meledandri, Miyoka Deme. What was that name that stuck out there? The only non-Asian name on the list, Chris Meledandri, who is the head of Illumination Studios and is also now in charge of a big drive over there at DreamWorks. Comcast, NBC Universal, they love him to death because he's been responsible for most of the animated hits that they have had over the last 10 to 15, 20 years here. So I think that I think they thought they had a sure thing. So it's very surprising to me that Shigeru Miyamoto negotiated this Legend of Zelda thing in live action outside of that studio with a company that owns the hardware that competes with their own.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, that
so
was the
many.
most interesting part about that, right? It's like you're negotiating with the PlayStation folks, it's like you're technically your rivals to make a movie about one of your biggest characters. I thought that was interesting. I was looking forward to that movie. The rest of the Nintendo Cinematic Universe to me was going to always be kind of like, okay, what are they going to do? How fast are they going to move on it? And when you started to see that projects weren't constantly being announced or this is in development, that's in development, we're going to do, I don't know, there's a lot of different Nintendo characters. Metroid obviously is another one, Captain Falcon, Star Fox, there's a lot of different places you could go with Nintendo. And I mean, you heard nothing, I thought a Donkey Kong movie would be coming up next. Didn't really hear that materialize. So I'm starting to think that, everybody's just, kind of out, and now this kind of confirms it a little bit anyway, that, I don't think this universe is going to come together the way we want it, which, would have led up to a Smash Brothers. That would have been, I would have been pretty solid, but yeah, it is what it is.
You ask someone like Seth Rogen, in order to be Donkey Kong here, you are assuming, and this is Seth Rogen from a few years ago. So whatever, the voice actor industry is very different because I wouldn't want to take my kids to a non-animated Seth Rogen film, and also even the animated ones not so sure about. Right. But they obviously had everything they needed to do Super Mario Brothers the movie, then Super Mario Brothers movie 2, which there is confirmation of movement on that. And bro, if you got more information, throw it in here. The idea of doing a Donkey Kong movie alongside it is very obvious. Behind that, it's very easy to understand why they might do a young Link story. I don't know if they have it in them to do the darker stuff like Metroid. in order to do a Super Smash Brothers movie. But that was always the thing that would. That's where you get your, hey, we're also going to do our own cinematic universe thing over here. That side of things, that's interesting. Or a Luigi's Mansion movie. Why are we not already hearing about a Luigi's Mansion movie?
Yeah.
And
It seems
I
so
think
easy.
I think what we're hearing is that for Nintendo, the way they view this is it increasing our video game sales? Because for them, this is just a minor project. I mean, again, gaming is 13 times the size of the film industry. So they're
Very
looking
true.
at this and saying, do we want to really hand off our characters and our brand to this other company and get kind of entangled in this when we fully control the video game side of it? And these are our characters. So, like, what are we gaining from it? And I just think they're more passionate about the theme the theme park stuff right now.
I just have to point out though, it's not going to put a dent in Mario. Mario is huge. Mario is the brand that doesn't need any help right now, and put more toys on the shelves and more toys will sell. I'm sure the Lego stuff moved lots of merchandise because of the juggernaut that is the Mario brand in video gaming. But when you're talking about a Metroid or and there's going to be Kirby fans who will be frustrated with me for daring to point out that Kirby is not the largest brand for Nintendo. Earthbound. There are so many brands that could use a little push right here, or even a Pikmin.
Yeah.
So Pikmin is my favorite. I don't ever see them actually doing a film based on Pikmin, but there are so many brands that need a little help here that they could sell lots of merchandise and boost from. But Mario, to me, that's like doing a Coca-Cola movie. That's not going, it might remind me in this moment that I want a Coca-Cola, but it's not going to change my consumption of the product. When it is Mario, the system mover, Mario, um, this is so short-sighted, and obviously I'm against it because I want more Nintendo content, but Nintendo is going to do what Nintendo does, and they are not going to explain themselves. Oh, Nintendo.
So, Jonas, let's read this super chat because it's so important to the topic that we're on right now.
Yeah, M2M for $50, and thank you for the very generous super chat. I don't blame Nintendo for their Hollywood concerns. Sonic was going to be a disaster until fans said otherwise, and even then, I'd rather have Sonic be in a fully animated world, but put Green Hill and Chemical Plant on screen, not live action Earth. And the best they seem to be giving us from the Sonic world is the Mushroom Zone, and even they don't seem to want to do that. I wonder if we're going to get Space Colony Arc in this most recent one that's about to come out.
So one of the things that we'd heard was that if they had been unable to get Jim Carrey back, that they had planned to make this be far more CGI specific. And I think that that's where we're going to go after this trilogy is probably full-blown computer animated Sonic. I think that's what Paramount would like to do in the future. So we'll see how that goes.
It would not have happened with Ugly Sonic. And
No.
and they've gone from a movie that has one CGI character to a movie that has 4 primary CGI characters, to the point where people are not speculating about what humans will show up. They're speculating about Amy Rose and Rouge and Cream and all these other characters that are in the next level of Sonic that you have to be aware of. Hopefully Aquafina won't be providing the voice of Amy Rose, as if that character needs to be any more irritating.
Absolutely. It's a real win for Sega. I would say too, though, it's a win for Disney, because one of the threats that could have come to Disney is if Nintendo had really gone into the film business, because that's the business where Disney knows what they're doing. And there.
They used to know what they were doing.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's annoying as a fan, from a fan perspective. It's annoying that you have one company that has now, because of Bob Iger, purchased everything, and so they could be unified in what they're doing. They could make good Marvel stories. They could make good Star Wars stories, and in movies and television shows, they have the potential because they're lined up. They're in the same company, whereas on the Universal side of things or the Sony side of things, they don't own these properties, right? They don't own Mario, they don't own Donkey Kong, they don't own Sonic, so they have to make these licensing agreements. So on the one side of things, you have a company that owns everything and can't make a damn good thing, and then you have the other side where because Nintendo wants their movie to have the integrity, wants Mario to have the integrity, working with Universal, they're okay with that, and they'll make a great movie. That Super Mario Brothers movie was fantastic last year. And it's annoying as a fan that none of this stuff can kind of line up in serendipity or kismet to make it all work on one side or the other. The fans are the ones that get screwed in all of this because of all these corporate politics and crap that goes on.
You know what it is, Ron?
There.
You know what it is to me? It's the difference between when you own something like Nintendo owns these properties versus when you just buy it. Because you didn't participate in the building, Disney, I mean, didn't participate in the building of Star Wars, in the building of Marvel, in the building of most of these properties that they own. They just bought it from somebody that actually gave a damn about it. So when you have that going on where the creative juice was somewhere else and you just purchased it and you put it in your pocket and say, yay, I own it, now I get to make some money off of it, but you don't really understand what went behind the creative thrust to make the thing in the first place. Now you just want to produce content, you just want to push something out there instead of actually giving us legitimate, a legitimate feeling of what the original spark of creativity was from the very beginning. That's what made all of these Nintendo properties what they were. That's what made Star Wars what it was. And so Nintendo, they care about it. No, you're not just going to run amok and do whatever it is you want to do. We care about our work and our properties, and if you're not going to do it right, we're not going to allow you to mess with it. Versus Disney, they'll just buy stuff and then they say, all right, it's ours, and we get to do it whatever we want to do with it. And then, there's the difference. You see the difference right there.
Exactly. And it's I'm glad they have that integrity over at Nintendo. I wish George Lucas would have held out and not said, and he would have said, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to sell it to you, but I will make you a deal that I will partner with you in making these next movies and properties, but we got to do it right. We got to do it the right way, in my way. And it didn't come out that way. And, it's when you eat good food, it still comes out as on the other end, and that's what Disney's done. They ate the good food, but it ain't coming out right on the other end.
Yeah, any parents out there who've dealt with diapers, they know what you're talking about. Erica, admiring fans want to know which one's better, Sonic or Mario. What say you?
Oh, I'm a Mario fan all the way. Yeah, sorry. I love Mario.
Peach. She's just teasing all the players, though, Erica. Princess Peach is always in another castle. It's a tease. It's a ruse. I think she wants to be kidnapped. That's what I think, anyway. And yet again, folks, we have come to the end. But what a video it has been, and we hope you agree. Folks, if you had a good time with us, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. We care about your thoughts. Folks, we also want to invite you to partake in thatparkplace.com. Of course, www. You get the idea. Thatparkplace.com. It is the website telling the truth, and it is a rising star across the web for pop culture news coverage and analysis. Go over there and bookmark it today. Folks, we're bookmarking you as a great guest that we appreciate. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, folks, you better believe it, keep having fun.